Hey everyone, welcome to our video series Canal Days, and thanks for joining us for today's episode of the Churches of South Hadley, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, here with my co-host, local historian, and founder of the Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Comeau. As your personal tour guide, Robert will lead you through some of the most iconic sites and their legends of historic significance throughout New England's preeminent and pivotal state of Massachusetts. With his expert insights, every monument and memorial story comes to life. Afterwards, don't forget to check out his website, holyokecanaltour.org, to access the full Canal Days video and podcast series. Also, check out his free in-person public tours he offers throughout Western Mass and the 2025 schedule for these special events. You can also book personalized private tours for groups of all sizes tailored to your interests. To discover all that and much more, remember to log on to holyokecanaltour.org. And can you chronicle the historical churches dated pre-1900s?
In South Hadley, Massachusetts, there are a few of them that old. The South Hadley Center Congregational Church comes from the 1720s era. It's in its fourth edition, and I'm going to go out and see it later. But its first edition was right next to where the cemetery used to be at the Gaylord Library, where the president of Monument College now is. That used to be a church, an area which had a church, but it went away. Then it moved into the restaurant at the center. It used to be called Woodbridges, now has a different name. And then it moved to its present location, the third edition, but that one burned down, and so they had to put up a new one, and so they got the fourth edition of it now. Now, the Catholic Church that is pre-1900 is the St. Patrick's Catholic Church. That's been around since the 1870s, very old, but you had Irish working in the mills of South Hadley and working on the canal, so forth. And that one is in its third edition. It used to be on Crescent Street. The rectory is still there, but then it moved down to Main Street, where the second edition burned and went down in the flood. And then the third edition is still there. So that's two churches that have been around. But the Sally Falls Congregational Church has been around for a long time too, since the very early 1800s, when Canal Village came around. And so that's another one. And that is pretty much it for pre-1900. And I told you a little history.
And can you recite the more modern churches that post-date the fire?
All right, I'll tell you. The St. Michael's Byzantine Old Slavonic Church, still there on Lincoln Street. Moved to South Hadley from Holyoke, I believe, in 1960. There's the Abbey Chapel on the campus of Monument College. Been there since 1890, still there. And then there's Second Baptist Church, All Saints Episcopal Church, South Hadley Methodist Church, which has both an old and a new history. It's been changed so many times. And there's a St. Teresa of Lisieux Church, which started with the Chapel of the Flowers, Little Flowers, which is still around South Hadley, but the St. Teresa's Church was built up in the 1970s. So you have a little modern and you have a little of the old. But we want to look across the street, College Street. You can see the Sally Center Congregational Church in place. What a gorgeous church. Along its right-hand side, you have a beautiful rose window. Towards its front, you have another gorgeous rose window, and you have also the gorgeous steeple. This is South Hadley's fourth entry on the National Register of Historic Places, and it fully deserves it. And this historically is the oldest church in South Hadley, because its first edition was the first Congregational Church of South Hadley, but we're into the fourth edition, like I did mention. So keep that in mind. Now you can see the sun glaring off of that rose window. There's 12 pedals inside of it, and they all have nice stained glass inside of there. Okay, and they use a double front door system. It's a very wide church for the most part, and not very particularly long. And the steeple is very nice. Probably used to have a bell that actually worked. To keep time, they probably had a clock up here. That's a high probability, because a lot of communities had to have a way to tell people the time, since there was very few watches. And you see the circle in the very top probably held the clock at one time. Okay, and so the history of the churches of South Hadley is very interesting. And I'll give you one more view, one more side.